A Soho House basic, always a Soho House basic bitch.
Jeffrey Epstein was also Harvey Weinstein, very prominent. There were members. Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl, escort, whatever you want to call it. That's what she was.
Here's where it all starts to crumble. Sources say Meghan's rise wasn't random. It was engineered by a social architect with keys to Soho House. Not a fairy godmother. A gatekeeper who curated access like a producer picks a cast. Enter Markus Anderson. He doesn't arrive with flowers. He comes with a call sheet. He invites, edits, and places. Less plus one, more showrunner. If your name lands on his list, you're in the room where the language is soft and the outcomes are sharp. And here's the tension. He's not a romantic angle. He's access. That distinction made him powerful and risky. Access moves fast, and it leaves fingerprints on careers. The dream, it's cracking for anyone who thinks breakthroughs are accidental. Take the founders' events. Those rooms weren't open calls. A handful of names selected for chemistry and clout. Then, a quiet add-on. Meghan slotted into a dinner where introductions matter more than menus.
No cameras, no red carpet.
Just placement. Soho House runs on privacy. That's the selling point. Phones away. Staff, trained to keep chatter contained. Private weekends and salons act like status tokens. Invite-only spaces where your presence says you're already vetted. You don't beg for attention there. You absorb it. Now watch the repositioning. Tailored introductions to designers who care about narrative, not just gowns. Philanthropists who want faces that can carry a cause without overshadowing it. A TV actress becomes cause-adjacent, seen in the right rows, looped into charity circles, asked to host rather than attend. Mission accomplished.
Meghan has always had this very, very strange fascination with Soho House, very much this weird obsession with it.
Shocking statement. Meghan's ascent wasn't random romance. It was curated access. Sources call Markus Anderson the gatekeeper, who placed her in the rooms that mattered. Founders' events. Private weekends. Tailored introductions that whispered, not shouted. But when unnamed sources tied Markus to controversial insinuations, the palace hit containment mode. We'll show you the before and after, the unbreakable bond that built influence, and the PR panic that followed. If the blueprint was networking, why did it look like a crisis from the inside? You are seats on power, proximity, and fallout. We've got the arc. Here's the insight. Curated proximity works like venture capital. Small early bets. You fund visibility with selective time and targeted rooms. You limit the burn rate, risk contained to trusted circles, and then you scale. When the right person repeats your name in 3 spaces, visibility doubles without a billboard. And that's why this blueprint felt inevitable. You build adjacency. You stage chance meetings inside protected ecosystems so they read as organic. A glance across a member's salon isn't random when the guest list reads like a strategy deck. The truth came to light in how often the same faces reappeared, nudged into alignment. So, what did this create? A path that could plausibly brush royalty without looking thirsty. A glide path, not a sprint. A version of access that looks like fate to the public and logistics to everyone holding the spreadsheets. Here's the kicker. Anderson wasn't leverage. He was infrastructure. He didn't push against doors. He arranged the hallway. That's why the palace later flinched. Infrastructure can't be controlled by protocol. It routes around it. That's radioactive if you're guarding hierarchy. But before the crisis, there was one crucial stop. A countryside weekend, low-key on the surface, high-yield behind the scenes, that turned whispers into momentum. And that's where the stakes moved from profile management to something much bigger.
Back in her early days, she was totally reliant on Soho House to pay for her travel, to pay for her accommodation.
Why do insiders point to one quiet weekend as the inflection point? Because momentum doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums. And at Soho Farmhouse, that hum turned into a pipeline, ideas in one door, alliances out the other. Sources say the guest list wasn't social, it was strategic. Names arranged to collide. Introductions sequenced like a rollout. The setup was simple. The fateful weekend at Soho Farmhouse. A countryside retreat with urban gravity. You arrive thinking wellness, you leave with 3 new allies and a schedule full of follow-ups. The list functioned like a living deck. Designers, philanthropists, media-adjacent fixers, each with a role, each pre-cleared. Here's the tension. Country setting. City stakes. Privacy promised. Outcomes unmistakable. Phones down. Chatter contained. If you were there, your presence announced you'd been vetted. And if your name was added late, someone decided your arc was worth the risk. Inside, the work looked casual. Small group dinners where the seating did the heavy lifting. Fireside chats that sounded like friendship and read like briefings. Morning hikes where the quiet made space for asks that land softly. You weren't pitching. You were aligning. The truth came to light when the follow-on invitations started appearing without public breadcrumbs. Research backs the format. The Farmhouse program favors off-camera deals and soft power tests. You're nudged into scenarios that measure discretion, stamina, and social intelligence. Nothing flashy, but it's a filter. Pass the test, and doors open later without anyone needing to explain why. Here's where it all starts to crumble. One rumor flipped the board. Insiders claim a whisper about an unbreakable bond crossed a red line. Not romance. Not scandal for clicks. A bond framed as influence that outranked protocol. That single idea made Marcus look radioactive to people who live by hierarchy. The setup came fast. An unnamed source leak pushed insinuations that he could appear inside private moments, backstage access without royal training. That's the nightmare for the firm. You can brief a spouse. You can't brief a gatekeeper who built his own network. If he's inside the frame, the pecking order blurs. And then the machine moved. Aides moved with speed you only see when the stakes are high. Stories pulled mid-edit. Language scrubbed to neuter the bond framing. News desks getting quiet calls with careful phrasing. Wrong angle, wrong tone, wrong time.
No emails.
Just voices that leave no trail. This is textbook royal media ops. Off-the-record briefings set the new boundary lines. Corridor warnings carry teeth without paperwork. Editors get reminded of NDA clauses they signed years ago. The goal isn't flash. It's friction. Make the rumor too costly to push. Make the door feel heavy. Watch what followed. Marcus didn't tour a denial.
No sit-downs. No clarifications.
He receded. Silence as strategy. When you live by curated proximity, you can also disappear on cue. That's a signal to insiders. Nothing to see, and if there is, you'll never prove it.
This guy has been around all of the time. Isn't that suspicious to you? Because it is for me. It is something strange. He is like a parasite, always lurking in their shadow. No normal family has a constant third wheel, male or female, leeching onto their every move. Marcus is practically glued to them.
Examples? Designers who later sit you front row without a press blast. Philanthropists who fold you into fundraisers as a host, not a guest. Quiet consultations about causes that play to your strengths, cutting out the optics that scream thirsty. Sponsorships that surface months later as natural fits. Mission accomplished without a billboard. Why does it work? Rural seclusion lowers defenses and speeds trust building. PR veterans call it the intimacy effect. Fewer eyes, faster bonding. Sociologists point to proximity and repetition. Shared meals, repeated encounters, predictable rhythms. You start to feel familiar. Familiar becomes credible. Credible becomes useful. And that's where the pivot forms. Brand repositioning turns into royal adjacency. Not through a headline, but through pattern. The same names, the same spaces, the same whispers. You're no longer a visitor to those rooms. You're part of their operating system. So when the next introduction appears, it reads as inevitable rather than staged. Here's the mini payoff. That weekend built a profile that could pass the sniff test. A credible public figure who can sit beside power and not look out of place. The optics align. The narrative holds. A meeting that might have seemed contrived now looks plausible, even tasteful. So here we are. The weekend did its job. It turned whispers into momentum and momentum into access. And now the twist everyone's been waiting for. When a gatekeeper looks indispensable, the firm sees a liability. Crisis comms 101 kicks in like a fire blanket. Contain narrative surface area, fewer photos, fewer mentions, fewer chances to misread a glance. Isolate the leak, who said unbreakable, who benefits, who's freelancing for clout. Restore hierarchy, reset the visual order of who stands where, who enters first, who speaks at all. Here's the analogy. It's like sealing a hull after a strike. You don't fix the ship in the middle of the storm. You lock the compartments. You stop the flood. Then you decide what survives. That's how the firm rides out reputational fires without a public brawl. The price of proximity shows up in whispers and withdrawals. Invitations stall. Credits vanish from captions. The same room's open, but the seating shifts by inches that matter. If you're watching closely, the pattern tells you more than any statement. Mini payoff? Anderson becomes a ghost. Not erased, archived. His blueprint, though, stays intact. Curated access built the ascent. Panic confirmed its power. If it weren't effective, no one would have scrambled. The dream, it's cracking for those who thought influence could be domesticated by protocol. So here we are. Loyalty measured in silence. Secrecy enforced by soft pressure. A playbook that delivers, until it over-delivers. And now the twist everyone's been waiting for. When the scaffolding starts looking like the structure, the people inside it call it a liability. The whispered truth. Anderson's network engineering lifted a brand into royalty. That's why the palace labeled him a liability. Power that doesn't report to protocol makes gatekeepers look radioactive. And when perception slips, even crowns scramble. Insiders claim containment wasn't panic, it was policy. So what's your read? Is this a professional connection or a strategic flirtation? Tell me your theories. Did the firm overreact, or was the clampdown a necessary move to protect the narrative? The world is watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you want the next drop on power, proximity, and the price of access. We'll keep receipts and keep digging.